Understanding the distinction between vulnerability assessments and penetration testing isn't just a technical consideration, it's a strategic imperative. Organizations that misunderstand these testing methodologies risk creating dangerous blind spots in their security posture, potentially leading to breaches that could cost millions and devastate customer trust. In this video, we'll answer 3 critical questions that every IT leader needs to understand. How do these testing methods fundamentally differ? When should you deploy each one? And how can you integrate both into a comprehensive testing strategy? So let's start with vulnerability assessments. These systematic security reviews serve as your organization's security baseline, identifying and cataloging known vulnerabilities across your infrastructure. What makes vulnerability assessments distinct is their comprehensive scope and systematic approach. They leverage automated tools combined with expert analysis to examine your entire attack surface from network devices to cloud services. Think of major cloud providers like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. A vulnerability assessment would examine things like your cloud configuration, identity management settings, and security groups to identify misconfigurations that could lead to data exposure. Vulnerability assessments are particularly effective at identifying known common vulnerabilities and exposures, or CVEs, in third-party software running in your environment. They work by comparing your systems and applications against databases of known vulnerabilities. When a vulnerability scanner identifies software versions, configurations, or code patterns that match known CVE signatures, it flags these for review. The key strength here is breadth and automation. A vulnerability assessment can rapidly check thousands of components against tens of thousands of known CVEs. For example, it wasn't too long ago that it was discovered that a widely installed version of Log4j was vulnerable to CVE 2021-44228, named Log4Shell. A vulnerability assessment would quickly identify this across your entire infrastructure. This is crucial because many successful attacks exploit known vulnerabilities that organizations haven't yet patched. They can provide trending data that helps you understand if your security posture is improving over time. However, vulnerability assessments have an important limitation. They can only find vulnerabilities that are already documented and included in the scanning databases. And this is where penetration testing provides essential additional coverage and serves a fundamentally different purpose. Unlike the broad sweep of vulnerability assessments, penetration testing simulates sophisticated attack scenarios that could compromise your critical assets. A real-world example, a penetration tester while probing your applications might discover a critical path to sensitive data resulting from a seemingly low-risk vulnerability in your cloud storage configuration when combined with a weakness in your identity management system. A vulnerability assessment alone wouldn't reveal this attack chain. At the end of the day, it's often the confluence of multiple misconfigurations that together result in a vulnerability. Penetration testing can uncover what are known as zero-day vulnerabilities in commercial or open source software. A zero-day vulnerability is a vulnerability that's unknown or only known to a small number of people and for which there's not yet a patch. For example, if you're a software vendor, a penetration tester might discover that while your web application framework isn't vulnerable to any known CVEs, there's an undocumented vulnerability in how you've implemented your authentication logic. And this could be a completely new type of vulnerability that would later become a CVE after being reported. So this brings us to the crucial question, when to use each approach. Vulnerability assessments should form the foundation of your security testing program, running regularly to maintain a strong security baseline. And then penetration tests, given their intensive nature and higher cost, should be strategically timed. Schedule them before major product launches or after significant infrastructure changes or when entering new markets with strict security requirements. The relationship between these methodologies becomes particularly important when dealing with custom applications and unique configurations. Vulnerability assessments help you manage the known knowns, documented CVEs that could affect your systems, and penetration testing helps you uncover the unknown unknowns, those novel vulnerabilities that are specific to your environment or previously undiscovered issues in common components. And this is why a mature security program needs both approaches. Regular vulnerability assessments ensure that you're not missing any known CVEs that could be easily exploited, while periodic penetration testing helps identify sophisticated attack paths and zero-day vulnerabilities that automated tools can't detect. Successful organizations typically run monthly or quarterly vulnerability assessments across their entire infrastructure while conducting targeted penetration tests annually or before those major business initiatives. Also, when a new high-impact CVE is published, you can quickly run targeted vulnerability assessments to check your exposure. Penetration tests can then verify whether your mitigations are truly effective and explore whether the vulnerability creates unexpected attack paths for your specific environment. The investment considerations are significant. While vulnerability assessments might cost tens of thousands annually for a mid-sized organization, penetration testing often starts at $40,000 per engagement. When you consider that the average data breach costs something like $4.5 million, these investments become essential risk management tools. Remember, this isn't about choosing between vulnerability assessments and penetration testing. It's about understanding how each methodology serves different aspects of your security program and business objectives. So looking ahead, the next challenge organizations often face is evolving from point-in-time assessments to continuous security testing. This requires integrating these traditional methodologies with modern continuous monitoring and automated testing approaches. By understanding and properly implementing both vulnerability assessments and penetration testing, you're not just checking, compliance boxes, you're building a resilient security program that supports your organization's growth and innovation.